fight. Within 2 years, they would outlaw municipal broadband in over 22 states. They just write it into the books and just took the power of these local decision makers away from them, all in the interest of the commercial interest, not the citizen. I want to talk about another piece of telecom legislation. My partnership back in those days invested in telecom equipment, and so we were very interested in the Telecommunications Act of 1996. This was heralded as the most important telecommunications reform in 62 years. Now this one's simple. I'm just going to use the headlines from Wikipedia. The Telecommunications Act of 1996 had two goals: to promote competition and to encourage the rapid development of new technologies. Let's see how things went. In 1996, the top four had 48% market share. 4 or 5 years later, after this heralded legislation, they're up to 85%. That didn't work. Let's check in on the second one. Were they promoting innovation? This is a chart of VC dollars into telecom equipment. This used to be 15% of what VCs did. Within 10 years, it had gone below 1%, and a year later, the MVCA stopped tracking it. Now, if you want to talk to one of the expert VCs in telecommunications equipment, it'll be easy to do because they're retired. This market's gone. There is no more innovation in telecom equipment. So what happens here? How can you possibly have a super important bill signed by and implemented by one of the most heralded presidents that we've in our generation that doesn't just fail? Failing would be things stay the same and you don't accomplish the goal. This did even worse. It created the opposite thing of what it was supposed to go do. Let me introduce you to George Stigler. He's the 1982 Nobel Prize winner in economics and the father of regulatory capture. This is his most famous quote: "As a rule, regulation is acquired by the industry and is designed and operated primarily for its benefit." I like to say regulation is the friend of the incumbent. Quick audience interaction moment. That's the one thing I want you to take away. So on the count of three, scream, "Regulation is the friend of the incumbent." 1, 2, 3. Yes. Amen. All right. So this is the only slide I have with bullets because this is going to be a 2-minute regulatory capture 101, all from George Stigler's notes. The first thing he says, in regulatory capture, a special interest is prioritized over the general interest of the public. Sound familiar from my other stories? Leading to a net loss for society. A net loss for society, that's important. The two mechanisms they usually use is the second bullet: limited market entry and price protection, or even price increases, which I'll show you more of. And then the mechanisms of influence are money, made worse by Citizens United, exposure, just time around people, and then 3, revolving doors. This is super important, and I'll show you one great example of that. That's people moving in and out. When they interviewed Christie on the pod the other day, they were talking about this in the military. All right, this is a piece of Morgan Stanley research from 1999. Someone took the time to go study 5 pieces of major U.S. legislation that had happened over the years and how the incumbent stocks did after the legislation. And let's just steal a few sentences from this. Conclude that landmark regulatory action has a tendency to improve returns for the largest players in the targeted industry. Long-term investors should consider capitalizing on any temporary weakness caused by market reaction to regulation. Many attempts to increase competition or improve customer experience have failed. This is reinforcing what Stigler taught us. Here's a very simple, quick one. Number of new banks in the U.S., 2009, nothing. Dodd-Frank. Like, that's what happens.